Hey everyone, welcome to our second episode of NRI Wealth Builders. I'm Nishita and I'm here with Sri and Sridhar. We're very excited for today's conversation because I think it's one of the topics that everyone thinks about even outside of finances. Today's topic is, what do we value more than money? However, before we dive in, we just want to mention that this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We will be sharing our experiences, perspectives, and things that we've learned along the way, but we are not licensed financial or legal professionals. So please definitely make sure to do your own research and speak with professional for advice specific to your situation. So now, before we get into a deeper side of today's topic, we just want to pose a quick question. So what's the most expensive and unnecessary thing that you guys have bought recently on a shopping spree, or maybe even a trip that you have taken that you think was just not worth it? Sri, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, this is such a hard question because I buy a lot of things all the time, which kind of goes against what I shouldn't have said that, but I think not a big thing I spend money on, but I mentioned that I buy a lot of clothes and I buy a lot of just like health and beauty products. I would say I use them. They don't go to waste, but definitely looking back, I could save a little bit better. So that's definitely what I would say. And sure, they're probably not worth the money because some of them are just sitting at the back of my closet right now. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have something very expensive habit of buying cars, doing so much research before buying cars, and then after I buy them, I don't like them. So I recently got a car, and then after 9 months into the lease, I had to buy another car. So that would have been easily avoided, right? Lease and all that. You have so much upfront expenses. And then when you change your taste, I think that'll be. So this is something I learned very well. I mean, before buying, I need to try it, maybe using a rental car or something, right? I could save a lot of money, strain, and experience. Mm-hmm. So it's a big expense, and it still hurts me when I even think about it.
I bet. Well, mine's not as bad as cars, but mine most recently is I bought about 2 pairs of Bose headphones because it was a buy one, get one deal. And I only really liked one of them, but at that point I ended up just convincing myself that I should keep both, even though they both together were still expensive, because it was technically a good deal, which I feel like says a lot about how a lot of people just justify spending money. I do it a lot. Anytime there's a deal, I buy. So yeah, I think that transitions pretty well into today's topic, because even when we spend money on random things, there's usually a deeper reason behind it, right? Like comfort, convenience, experiences, status, happiness, whatever it might be. So a big question that we want to ask ourselves is, if money isn't the final goal, then what do we actually value more than it? So Sri, what would you say are 3 things that matter more to you personally over money, and why would you pick them?
Definitely. Okay. Well, if I have to be fully serious here, I'm going to say time is one big one that I think is something I value a lot. The second one kind of goes in with that, because without time you can't cherish experiences, because for me, experiences are incredibly important. I actually have this tattooed on me too recently. Nothing ever lasts forever. So getting something, soaking up experiences is incredibly important to me. So that's the second one. And then family is the third one. So just spending as much time as you can with your loved ones, family, and friends. That's what I would say are my 3.
Okay, great answers. And if you had to pick just one of those to prioritize the most, which one would you pick?
I mean, I think all of them kind of weave into each other. So probably time. That's probably what I would do. Yeah.
I would say you're more experienced than you look. 3, I think, Typically, I would hear time is like one of the last options. You pick that as one of the first option, shows the maturity you have, right? Right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, because I think time also has a lot of parallels in finance too, which we'll talk about later, like the time value of money. Rich is a
Mhm.
huge thing we talk about, but time
Absolutely.
is just a big deal in general too.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
How about you?
Yeah, I can go next. I
Okay.
think for me, travel is a really, really important thing because when you go travel, you learn so much about different cultures and sometimes different perspectives. For example, when
Mhm.
I went to Europe, you can't believe how laid back these people were. They're so relaxed. They're fresh. Their faces were fresh and always
Mhm.
energized. They give so much importance to especially in Italy, to take it easy and take life one at a time. But unlike in US, we are always running, right?
Mhm.
So it gives you different perspective about that culture, right? So that's why I like traveling a lot. And then I think I'm at a stage where I want to give back, right? If I have more time and money, I would probably give back to the society in terms of time, like you said, um, three, and also money, right, to
Mhm.
some important causes. And the third thing which I want to kind of emphasize is, which I told in the first episode, is freedom, right? For me, I don't know what my mood is, right? Depending on my mood, I might like really do something which is not so socially intensive, but something like a hiking or something. But freedom is everything for me. I think
Mhm.
if you want to pick one of them, Nishi, I'm sure you're going to ask that question next
Yeah.
question. So I would pick freedom as one of them, right?
Okay.
Freedom is one of the most important thing. What about you, Nishi?
Yeah. I would have to say I would definitely pick health as one of mine. Because I feel like health is just one of those things that people usually take for granted until they don't have it anymore.
Mhm.
Especially that people that work in especially like high pressure environments, like finance or tech or something like that, and hospitals, people normalize stress so much, like burnout and terrible sleep and stuff like that. But at some point, I feel like the other stuff just shouldn't take priority over your mental health and your physical health. Sorry. Um, I feel like my second one would probably be relationships, because if you have a lot of money but you don't have the people around you to enjoy life with, it's kind of meaningless, right? So I feel like
Mhm.
a lot of people kind of chase the success thinking they'll enjoy it later, but a lot of time they don't get the later. So I think, yeah, that's another one. And I think my main one, though, is happiness, which yeah, happiness, because I feel like a lot of people, kind of like what I said with relationships, postpone it because they just think, oh, I'll enjoy life when I get to this part, when I finish getting my PhD, or I reach partner at my firm or something like that. But like I said earlier, it doesn't really happen all the time for a lot of people. Um, but yeah, so something I thought was very interesting among all of us is that we all picked things that were, even though they're all outside of money, money definitely connects them all. Like for
Mhm.
travel and experiences, a lot of the freedom that we need in order to travel and get those experiences come from financial stability, right?
Mhm.
Um, so what do you think that you can do you think you can fully achieve the values that you guys hold precious even without money? Or do you think money is kind of the thing that supports them all indirectly?
Mhm.
It's a great question, right? I think we need to value, uh, definitely all these things are more valuable for money, but without money, like think about the fact that travel. How do I really travel without money? How can
Yeah.
Mhm.
how can I enjoy the travel? Maybe I can go to the local bus stop, right? But that's it.
Yeah.
So I think money enhances this thing or
Mhm.
accelerates this thing. In some cases, you cannot achieve them without money, right?
Right.
Definitely, money is a very important thing. At the
Hmm.
same time, when you were talking about it, I was thinking about how ironic it is. We all see that money is so important to whatever we think more important than money, but we don't pay so much attention to money. I mean, I'm just thinking about it in general. Sri, what do you
Yeah.
think?
I agree with that. I think the three I said were time, experiences, and family. I think
Mhm.
time and family, like that's universal, like you'll have that. But experiences, like you make what you make out of that, if that makes sense. So like I have made great experiences without spending a cent, but also some of the best experiences I've had were also like traveling, right, internationally or like expensive excursions. So I think it really is what you make of it. But like ultimately, to me, everything it's just about mindset. Like if you have a positive mindset and you carry yourself through that, then I think you are able to without it. But then again, it goes back to the theme of money is a tool that can enhance any of these. So that's what I would say.
100%, 1,000%, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Money is a
Yeah.
tool. I think,
Right.
that's really important to understand. Money is not your destination. I mean, obviously, you see
Yeah.
a lot of things without money, like you rightly said, Sri, money is not your destination, but money is a tool. Don't forget that, right?
Right.
If that is important to you, we have to do something about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Nishi, do you see anything there?
Yeah. I feel like it kind of depends on the value, right? Like for, like you said, for family, you don't really need it because your family's always going to be there. I mean, I hope. But experiences and travel, you're probably going to need money. And same with health. If you have money, it's likely you're
Right.
going to be able to get better healthcare and stuff like that. Yeah. So I guess my next
Family
question.
also, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Nish.
definitely.
Family also, like let's say somebody in your family, you need to take care of them, right? If you don't have money, how will you take care? Versus if you have
Right.
money, how will you take care, right? It's just all are so interdependent. And for all these things, money is kind of very important, right?
Yeah.
Freedom is like probably the most important in my view. Again, it's my humble opinion because if I have money, I can kind of not get into the rut of going to my job 8 to 10, right?
Yeah.
And that opens up a lot of possibilities. I think that's why I think money buys you freedom, basically, if you think about it.
Yeah. Freedom and independence, very, very important
Yeah,
ones. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a quick question for you guys. Another one. Do you guys think that people sacrifice too much of their present life, their current life, chasing future financial security?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that a question?
Especially in US, right? Yeah. Yeah. Can you expand on that? What's the context?
Yeah, I guess like how are we able to find a balance? What are our advice for our audience to find a balance between working too much and trying to look for money sources versus finding happiness with what we already have? What would you say was the balance?
I think there are a lot of things we can come and discuss this. I think we need to balance between what is your want and what is your need, right? If you are able to understand that better, and I'm not saying you shouldn't splurge, but you splurge consciously, right? Without subconsciously swipe your credit card and oh, this is good, I have to have experiences, so I have to go. But if you can't afford, and if you could do it in a bad way, it is going to bite you back. So
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of having that balance. Like you have to work towards money, but it's not the only thing. It's a tool at the end of the day, and the balance is important. It's what I would take away for the audience. See?
Yeah. I'm trying to think on. We touched on this a little bit before, but it talks about like the difference between like our generation and like dad's generation, like older generation versus how much, like, why do we do what we do? Ultimately, like, my end goal is like save a little bit of money for retirement, have fun, take care of parents, and then maybe save some for my kids, right? Just a few different buckets. But I think for like my parents or like for the older generation, it's just like, let's save as much money for retirement as possible, and then let's leave as much for our kids as possible. Like that's it, and there's no enjoyment in the middle. I mean, that's a very blunt statement, like very vague, but I'm saying that there are, I think, lots of cultural gaps that also play a big role in this topic as well. But like balance is very hard, especially when you don't know what life could throw at you in any moment. You don't know if like next month, right after you just went on a huge vacation, you might get laid off, right? So you never know what's going to happen. So it's all about like preparing. That's a tough answer, but yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think this also connects really well with the idea that Uncle was mentioning earlier, which is financial freedom, because a lot of people say, once I hit this number, I'll finally feel secure, and once I have enough, I'll finally relax. So that kind of raises the question, what actually is that number for people, right? How do you even decide how much is enough to retire or even feel fully financially comfortable? Because I feel like that answer changes a lot depending on lifestyle, family situation, priorities, and even as you age. So how do you guys come up with that number? Uncle, how did that number change for you? Yeah. What would you guys say?
Yeah.
Uncle, maybe we'll start with you.
I think that's a good question, right? Great question. Like, I think all the financial planning kind of anchors on this, in my view, right? What's your number to get to financial freedom, right? For example. And there are, again, various way to look at it, right? But think of like you are retiring and your company is giving you a pension, right? I think that's how I think about it. What is the pension check you would ideally want? That pension game is no longer there in US workplace, but let's say there is an employer who is giving you pension. What would you define that pension to be? Do you want the employer to define or you to define, right? I think that's tells you that number kind of gives you a good way to look at your retirement or your financial future. And also, when do you want to retire? Do you want to retire at 50 or 60 or 70? What is the time? When do you think you want to retire? Some people don't want to work beyond 50. It's good, but are you ready for it? Are you ready that with the financial resource which you want and meet the number? And then what is your standard of living? Do you want to maintain the same standard of living when you retire, right? I may not want the same standard. I want to ideally cut down my expenses and keep my expenses to be minimum, but I don't want to compromise in some of the things because of the money. I don't want to, like, for example, not travel. I don't have money, so I don't want to travel. I don't want to be in that situation. But I can live in a 3-bedroom versus 8-bedroom, right? So that's
Yeah.
so those are some of the things I'm willing to compromise. So I think the number at a crude level, I think you can think of like a pension amount. This is the pension amount if I get without expenses. This is what I would retire. Maybe see
Yeah.
where you can have a better perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great answer. I think I've been in lots of conversations with like pre-retirees where like the advisor will ask like, how much money do you want per month for the next 30 years from age what, like X? When do you want to retire, right? They'll ask that question. And every single time, like, it's a blank face. Like, no one really knows when they want to retire, how much money they need. You'll have once in a while, you'll have a person who actually knows, but that's like super exciting when they know. So then we can start planning immediately, right? But our job as like advisors is to like dig deep and figure out what they actually want. So I think like I urge our viewers and like our people to take away from this episode is start thinking about that and come up with some thought process behind how much would I feel comfortable with in retirement, and how has my planning been so far, and am I comfortable with like how everything has been going so far. That's what I would urge everyone to think about a little bit, and then make adjustments along the way. Like, nothing is ever set in stone. Like, we make changes all the time. So I think that is what I would say, but your answer was spot on, I would say. Yeah.
Do you have any insights there? Yeah, go ahead.
Not too many insights. I can't say I have too many. I've spent too much time thinking about this, but my question for you guys is, does location matter? Like, where you think you're going to end up? Because India, cost of living is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for NRIs, India is a big advantage, right? Even if you live like 3 to 4 months in India, that's the money. You're not paying for the mortgage, for the high expenses here and all that, right? You could use it. I mean, potentially, there mathematically, it's possible. Really, whether it's possible or not, it's a different story. But mathematically, let's say you're not paying 4 months of mortgage in US. For example, in my case, I want to stay 3 months in India. 3 months of that is money saving for me, right? And I can also enjoy the good weather. I can also do stay with people I love, and
Mm-hmm.
again, travel is another thing. So
Right.
location is a great, I would say, variable in deciding how you want to plan your future.
Right.
Mhm.
And another thing on that, sometimes some states have higher state income tax too. So for
Right.
estate planning purposes, we'll decide whether there's a lot of nuance to this, of course. So I'll just
Exactly.
plant a small seed and then leave it. But
Yeah.
estate planning purposes wise, we'll look at like state tax and seeing where is the best place to pull our money out and where's the best place to retire tax efficiently. Because if we can make those plans too 20, 30 years ahead of time, then we can save on literally millions of dollars. So I think that's another perspective to take as well. That's really important.
Already on a state where no income tax, so I'm not going to move because of tax. But
Yeah, but Seattle
uh,
has high cost of
yeah,
living though.
high cost of living,
Yeah.
but also, I think they have a lot of complicated estate taxes, right?
Right.
So, that's another reason some of the people, when they retire, they move away from Washington State and go to other
Right.
states which are more estate tax friendly. But while I'm here, I'm not paying income tax.
Exactly.
So when you're retiring, that's a really good option, right? You are, if I don't need to pay this much for the cost of living, why do I need
Mhm.
to, really
Yeah.
pick this
Mhm.
location? Unless, of course, there are other things I need to consider, like my friends, the roots I've established here, all those things. But location is going to play a really major role when you're, as you can see, your biggest line item in your expenses is always mortgage or rent,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
so definitely something to consider. Good point,
Hmm.
Nishi.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for our discussions today. I think today's conversation really shows that money is very important, but for most people, it's usually tied to something a little bit deeper, whether it's freedom, happiness, family, experiences, or security. And I think a good question for everyone to think about is, do financial decisions actually support the life that you want long term? Or are you just kind of moving from one financial goal to the next without really thinking about it? Do you really understand your financial circumstances 100%? Where is your money? Where is your assets? What are the liabilities? So next week, we're going to continue this conversation by talking about debt, specifically good debt versus bad debt, how debt can either help you or hurt you financial future depending on how it's managed.
Hmm.
So thank you guys. Or do you guys have anything else to add before we end the call? End this today's?
I just want to add one thing, right?
Yeah.
we are the reason why we want to do this podcast is educating audience of becoming their own financial advisor, right? A lot of financial advisors start with this one question: where is your money? Why don't you first tell me where your money is, existing money is? And you don't need a financial advisor to tell you where your money is. That's
Hmm.
very important, right? When you're trying to figure out where my money is, that's when you really need to look at, that's something you can do yourself. And then
Mhm.
what are your goals? How does a financial advisor know what your goals are? Those are like kind of your steps. So in this episode, what I want to leave with is try to, kind of see where are you money wise. Put what your assets are in India, what your assets are in US, what are your liabilities in India, what are your liabilities in US. Put them in one place, maybe a simple Excel file. Maybe that will give you a good perspective of where you are. And then write down the goals, right? What are the goals you, I mean, these, you don't need a financial advisor to tell you these two things. There are some other advanced things they can tell you, but these two things are so personal to you, so unique to you. And I think you don't need to share with anybody, and you can just do it in your Excel file somewhere, and start writing down. And keep in mind, I think this can change, right? My financial goals 20 years back is not exactly the same now, right? Keep changing. So that'll give you a perspective. Thank you, Nishi. I think it's a great discussion talking to both of you. I've
Mhm.
learned a thing or two. I hope you did too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of NRI Wealth Builders, and we'll see you next week.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I
Thank
hope
you.
you have a great day, great weekend. Enjoy the summer weather, and probably go out.
Oh yeah, we'll
Enjoy
do.
the sun. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.